All right, and welcome back, everybody, to yet another match here in 5USC 2025. We are still in the semifinals bracket, and right now it is a Major League match between Indiana A versus North California A. This is going to be losers semifinals, so one of these two teams will be exiting the tournament, but my name is going to be It's Pigeon, and today I am joined by not one, but two casters. Joining me in the booth is going to be Bless KM and MyG. How are we doing?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you very much.
Hey everyone, I'm doing amazing. I am looking forward to seeing how this match goes.
Gonna be pretty interesting here. I think a lot of people do have NorCal winning this one. It's pretty easy to root for NorCal here. But Indiana's been kind of a bit of a dark horse in this tournament. I do think that they have proven a lot of people to be wrong on their expectations of them, taking 4 points off of Georgia previously in the winners bracket back in quarterfinals, which is when they dropped down, and they have already exceeded their highest placement in this tournament thus far. So no matter what happens to them today, they will still be leaving this tournament feeling pretty good with themselves. But getting to the finals would be pretty monumental. However, they do have to beat this North California team. Now, they have beaten a California team in the past. They did beat a South California I believe, in the round of 16 in order to make it to the quarterfinals. But this is a bit of a different beast here, North California.
Yeah, most certainly. North Cal A coming in as the fourth seed overall in the major leagues here. They've been looking to be on quite a tear, only stumbling in their upper bracket match against New Jersey in an incredibly close match that went all the way to tiebreakers, and now coming into the losers bracket, showing why they are that fourth seed just last night with a 7-0 sweep against Massachusetts A. Indiana, of course, a bit of a different beast than that Massachusetts A, much higher seed, and also putting up solid performance in their match against Oregon last night as well. So we'll see just how much of a fight Indiana can look to put up against this absolute monolith of a roster here that NorCal has brought. Now, I do have to be wondering, how exactly do you think Indiana is going to be trying to tackle their match strategy and approach this NorCal team?
Well, normally Indiana's historically gone for their strongest picks would be stuff like the hard rock, stuff like the double times. But as we saw last night versus Oregon, they actually vied for not picking into either of those skill sets really at all and let Oregon pick into those. And they were leaning a bit more into the hidden because I believe Oregon was a bit weaker on the hidden than they were. But as far as this NorCal team goes, they kind of have everything, right? They have Vleth as one of their key players in NorCal, who's obviously a return player, but also Asa 3 and Valine as well. Some really scary tapping players for this team that really could go toe-to-toe with Indiana on some of the hard rock double time picks. So I'm really not sure what Indiana would want to do in terms of like their pick strategy. I do think that they are just going to allow North California to pick into some of the more mechanics-based stuff and probably just going to lean a bit more into the gimmick.
Yeah, NorCal really strong on the HR and DT. We'll definitely be seeing the three infamous 5WC players, Vlef, Asa 3, and Valine on the DT and HR. We also have an annoying Maniac, who is a really strong hard rock player themselves, doing good on HR2 and HR1 last match in the semifinals, and also I'm pretty sure top scoring or getting 1.1 mil on the DT1. So definitely going to be NorCal strat to go into that tapping and hard rock, but Indiana also has decent tapping themselves. So as we see this warm-up, the NorCal going with the tapping warm-up.
No,
And
gonna
now
be
that we are
finishing up the warm-up here. That's gonna be NorCal's warm-up. We just saw Indiana's warm-up before that, so Picks and bans are going to get underway here. I believe priority is going to be over second ban, then second pick, I think, in this matchup, because again, there are so many contested picks here. So I do think that second ban is going to be the choice for North California. We'll have to see if they actually go with that, but kind of forcing your opponent to potentially ban something out that you would want to get banned yourself is good, but they're actually going to go for the second pick. So also an interesting strategy. Does guarantee no matter what that you get the final pick of the match if it does go the distance. So second pick, a viable strategy, but for Indiana, I think it has to be second ban.
Yeah, Indiana, especially going up against a roster as versatile as NorCal A, you definitely want to see how they are going to be playing their cards first, so you can observe, try and guess what their strategy is before you make a move with your own bans. So, making a lot of sense going for this, going for a first ban here, or going for a second ban here and forcing NorCal into the first ban, which will be the free mod 2. So that is the anti-mod banned out of the pool, the AR8CS5. Bit of an interesting ban, I would say, from NorCal, perhaps still going for that skill cap based strategy. You know, we've seen them, especially in the earlier rounds of the tournament, they would be banning stuff like Nomad 1 DT1, simply to make it so that the weaker teams that they would face in those early stages could not just coin flip them on some inconsistency type of pick. It will be a fast DT2 DT3 ban, making a lot of sense coming out from Indiana, as we did see the, I believe it was a 3-way S rank with 2 of the players FCing with incredibly high AC on the DT2 last night from NorCal, and then the DT3 also just making sense to pair with the DT2 ban. No mod 3 to ban out for NorCal, and we will be getting right into the picks.
Couple of interesting bans here from NorCal. Indiana did have a pretty good team score on the Fremont 2 yesterday and against Oregon, but I can't help but feel like that Fremont 2 is more of just a we don't really want to play the map kind of ban from NorCal. The Nomad 3 is interesting because Indiana doesn't necessarily have the strongest team for some of these alt-heavy picks on the Nomad 3, so I'm not really sure what that one is as well for them, but these bans from Indiana make a lot of sense. Really just giving a lot of respect to NorCal's tapping roster. One of the scariest tapping rosters in this tournament, bar none, so gonna be getting rid of those DTs. Makes a lot of sense for them.
Quick note on the NorCal bans, it does look like it's just target bans against Indiana with a 2.7 million score on Free Mod 2 last night, as well as a 2.1 million team score on the No Mod 3. So another trend that we've seen from this NorCal team, banning out the strengths of their opponents, notably round of 32 No Mod 1 DT1, then round of 16 they switched it up with No Mod 1 DT4 against their opponents there, and then in the quarterfinals against New Jersey, I believe it was in the upper bracket, banning out the easy one in the No Mod 3. So very flexible. So just having such depth in their roster, really allowing them to be flexible with these bans.
Yeah,
Hard
and
Rock
with
one.
our first pick of the match, Hard Rock 1 from Indiana, should be a pretty good pick. I don't think this could be one of your best picks, considering NorCal, you got like 4, maybe even 5 players who are able to play the Hard Rock aim, but we'll just have to see how Indiana do on this HR1.
I mean, yesterday Indiana did really well on it versus Oregon. I think Oregon ended up winning it, but just barely, if I remember correctly. But they're no strangers to Hard Rock. Of course, you have JT Cantwell, who is one of the best Hard Rock players in the nation in the 5-digit scene. Fortisay, I believe, was also playing yesterday as well, who is pretty comfortable on the Hard Rock. And then I think it's Super Al who would be playing for their third here. So they definitely are comfortable on this style of map, but we'll see who's actually in the lobby here as VLHFs are coming out. Get a little bit of a screen switch if we can.
Yep, and there we go. I do believe this is just Indiana looking to pick to their strengths, as I believe you mentioned yesterday as well. Indiana very strong on the Hard Rock and DT mechanics. So banning out NorCal's biggest strengths in the DT2, DT3, and then proceeding to pick into the Hard Rock 1 aim consistency pick here. So that may tell us a lot about their future strategy going into this match. But we are getting into the lobby here. Once again, JT Cantwell, Super Alvin, Fortase looking to improve on their performance last night. I believe that was 1.3, almost 1.4 million, barely losing out to Oregon. But NorCal, it's going to be Annoying Maniac, Picky, and Skyzy. Annoying Maniac, probably the most prominent HR player for this NorCal squad here. And as Bancho does Bancho things, we will be back in just a moment.
Yeah, and I mean, for the time being, I do like this Hard Rock 1 pick, if only because it splits up Valine, Asa, and Vlad, right? These three terrifying players that you never want to see in a lobby together. They've already done that somehow on this Hard Rock 1 pick, so we are finally caught up, and it does look like a very early miss comes through here from both Skyzy and Annoying Maniacs. That's going to be giving Indiana a lot of wiggle room right now to work with.
Yeah, and as we saw multiple times.
Okay, you go. There we go.
Yeah, as we saw multiple times last night, when this map was picked in many of the matches, this first half of the map is incredibly important in just holding as much of the quote-unquote easier combo as you can. As once you hit that bridge section around halfway to 2/3 through the map, the difficulty really spikes up. There is 210 BPM tapping included as well, so many players getting caught off by those streams. And this early combo just that much more important, as we've seen multiple team-wide wipes in that section, and lobby-wide wipes as well. In fact, as we are seeing more breaks coming out from this NorCal roster, Peaky and Annoying Maniac finding more breaks, traded out by Fortise and JT Cantwell. So Super Alf and Skyzy, the only large combos remaining. Skyzy on that reverse choke at the moment.
That is looking pretty good for Indiana, though, holding on to about 110,000 point lead here going into the halfway mark of the map, and these two teams now know that Indiana actually has the lead, so for North California, they're going to have to put their foot on the gas, and for Indiana, they're going to have to really lock in. It's going to come down to these two massive combos, and Super Alf is going to be the one to drop it first here for Indiana. That's going to be a trade on the side of North California, but not from the one remaining massive combo, and that Scroid is now dwindling for Indiana.
Yeah, and Skyzy really getting to work here, but this is that little bridge section that I talked about earlier, and Skyzy going to find the miss aim on the slider, and here comes those 210 BPM tapping mixed in with the crazy spacing 1-2s at this high BPM. Nobody looking to survive that, only JT Cantwell, that HR absolute rock of a player, one of the best HR players in the nation in 5-digit, as you mentioned earlier. And that will be looking like JT Cantwell holding on to this lead for Indiana as we go into the ending of the song.
Yeah, Indiana already beating out their last night's score by just over 100K. JT Cantwell holding it out for Indiana, holding through that tapping section with really good accuracy, and not to mention both players on Indiana already beating out last night's score, getting sub 500K, and it's going to be Indiana taking the first point of this match on their Hard Rock 1 pick, absolutely gapping their score from last night by 300K.
Indiana looking really comfortable here on this Hard Rock 1, and it's good to see that they aren't phased by the higher seed of North California. They're not phased by the fact that North California is good at Hard Rock themselves. Picking into this Hard Rock was a bit of a question mark, right? But it does seem like they're still going to be playing into their own strong suits, despite not having any FCs notably on this map from any side. They still are going to be outperforming all the players on North California individually.
It will be the easy one pick coming right back for NorCal, playing into this gimmick. So very different direction from what Indiana is picking. I do want to mention before we move on, however, that historically NorCal is known to be a weak state when it comes to Hard Rock. And we do like to joke that, especially this year, all the Hard Rock players went to B Team. If you know, that would be Thrylos and Bu on B Team, where bit of a perhaps if you could call if you could point out any weakness on this NorCal A roster, I would say it is the Hard Rock. And so in that sense, Indiana does have a quite good matchup into this team, looking very comfortable on that Hard Rock 1 and likely to pick into the Hard Rock 2 and Hard Rock 3 later on in the match. However, it is time for that easy, it is time for that Tetris. And it's easy aim, it is overlaps, it is reading hell. So what can we say but have fun to all these players. I'm sure all these players are very comfortable, however, this is the Major League. Two incredibly high seeds, and Indiana also no slack when it comes to the reading either.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana definitely has the lineup for reading, but I do think that it's scary here as we do see those three players I was mentioning. Indiana was able to get out of the lobby, at least two of them, Asa 3 and Vleth, they were able to take out of the lobby in that Hard Rock. And now they are in the lobby, and these are some of these key players for North California. And when they are popping off and working together, it's a scary team to have to go against. But yeah, this easy one I do think would favor North California just on paper. Indiana does have the ability to maybe match one FC, but two FCs is going to be a bit more difficult for Indiana.
Yeah, NorCal played this easy one last night. With the exact same roster, Vleth with a 106 miss, 420k, and Skyzy with 420k as well. Also 3 trailing down with a 240k, but that's going to make up for a 1 mil team score, and 1 mil on easy is pretty high considering that the score is cut in half. So right now, everybody in this map right now actually doing really good. We have a triple SS on the side of Indiana. Nobody tripping up. Score lead for Indiana due to accuracy.
Yeah, this one's going to come down a bit more to just any misreads from any players, and unfortunately for Indiana, despite having the three-way SS, Shrek Farm is going to be the first to fall, and that's going to be Super Elf also dropping a combo here, going into the slow section, and that's a full reset from Indiana. Actually, just misreads all over the place for them, so very unfortunate here, but it's almost certainly going to be the nail in the coffin. Only halfway through the map and 150,000 points now, as North California is not looking to take their foot off the gas. They are looking to really just hammer this one in, and Indiana is looking in trouble right now.
Yep, Shrek Farm coming in for their first match of semifinals, not participating in their match against Oregon last night. They did start off incredibly strong, but finding that first miss, perhaps a little bit of those first match nerves in the round. Vleth finally going to trade one back, but it's still 2 SSs being held by Asa and Skyzy here. And this is just 300,000 score in the favor of NorCal at the moment.
I mean, Skyzy does end up dropping, and there goes Asa, but yeah, as far as chances for Indiana to come back, that is going to be 0. There's no chance for Indiana to get this one back, and still going to be a pretty impressive team score here, coming up to about 750,000 or so by the end of it all, but yeah, 1 million team score right at the end of the map, and it's going to be much too big of a gap for Indiana to match here. North California easily putting up a first point on the board as their own.
Yeah, and of course, due to that easy mod multiplier, we can just, for context, we can double that 360,000 score gap to be approximately 700,000 if no mod, just for some context.
NorCal pretty much getting the exact same score as last night. Just a 20k score difference. Also 3 absolutely doing way better by getting a sub 400k. Last night they only got 240k, so didn't misread as much. I like how they have 0-100s, 150, but 3 misses. Anyways, we'll be going into Indiana's next pick. Both teams trading each other's picks, or points on each other's picks.
I would be surprised if this is anything other than a Hard Rock 2 or Hard Rock 3 pick.
I think Hard Rock 2 gotta be it from Indiana. Of course, North California, Vleth is a player that you want to take out of the lobby as much as you possibly can if you are playing against him. And Hard Rock 2 is one of Vleth's biggest weaknesses. In fact, he just outright refuses to play Hard Rock 2s. So I think Hard Rock 2 has to be the pick for Indiana. I do think they're probably just practicing it right now. And I mean, they could go for something like a Hard Rock 3 as well. But I do want to say it's going to be Hard Rock 2. Otherwise, maybe a DT1 pick from Indiana. Just because that Hard Rock 1 did look so good for them. And again, picking into DT1 would still provide that Vleth is not in the lobby. It doesn't like the DT1s.
I would
like
think
the Hard Rock 2s.
twice before doing that. Just like the DT2 last... They actually put up a better team score overall in DT1 than DT2, I believe. Another 3 million score with Vleth putting up a 99% FC on the DT1 last night.
I could see Indiana, hear me out, possibly going no mod 4. I don't know if you guys happen to look at their no mod 4 score, but they did get a 2 mil score, but it is going to be the HR2 pick. Maybe going to hold the no mod 4 in for later in the match.
I would agree with you.
Almost FCing it, so
yeah.
Actually they did FC it.
No, he did FC, yeah. In the match versus Oregon, Other Bubble was able to get the FC. And I do think no mod 4 is on the table for Indiana at some point, but yeah, as for right now, just picking into their strengths in the Hard Rock, I think is going to be their game plan, and especially looking to take out some of these key players for North California. Not that, without Vleth in the lobby, without Asa in the lobby, North Cal's any weaker, but definitely is going to be the strategy for Indiana.
Yep. So Hard Rock 2, Hard Rock 3 is a bit of a weirder pick just looking forward a bit, so I wouldn't be too surprised if they went for that no mod 4 before the Hard Rock 3, notably some of those aim control patterns, incredibly awkward to play. So Hard Rock 2 and Hard Rock 1 definitely much more comfortable aim-wise. But yeah, just looking at this pick, I believe we should see a similar roster to what we saw in Hard Rock 1. I can't remember if they played it last night.
For NorCal, they actually did play the Hard Rock 2 last night, and it was Annoying Maniac, Skyzy, and Lean in for this Hard Rock 2. Annoying Maniac being dropping the bomb actually yesterday, getting 620k, carrying that map for their team yesterday. They got a 1.3 mil team score, closing in on 1.4, but not enough. So we'll see. Good luck, have fun's coming in chat. We'll see if Indiana will be able to take their point on their pick.
I do want to leak that there were some scores posted in the NorCal Discord from Asa. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them in for some maps that we didn't see them in for last night. But that is neither here nor there at the moment, as we will just be seeing a repeat of their Hard Rock 2 roster from last night. Cursing, Annoying Maniac, also known as Cursing, Skyzy, also known as Azurium, and Valine rounding out the trio on the side of Indiana. Once again, JT Cantwell coming back in after stepping out for the easy one, and then rounded out by Super Alv and the other Bubble. Two more incredibly strong, well-rounded players on the side of Indiana here.
Yeah, is going to be the return of JT Cantwell here on the Hard Rock. Not an easy player, notably one of his worst mods, so it does make sense that we did not see him. But yeah, Annoying Maniac, Valine, and Skyzy going to be looking to get it done here for North California. gonna have to match some of these combos a bit more than what we saw in the previous Hard Rock, because this Hard Rock 2 is a lot shorter of a map than the Hard Rock 1 was, so a lot less time for recoveries if any mistakes do happen. That's a three-way miss right off the bat into the first Ki section. 2 on the side of Indiana. Super Alb and Other Bubble going to be dropping an Annoying Maniac, the only one to fall on the side of North California, so that's going to give them a pretty huge score lead now.
I do want to point out that also from earlier on, there is a little bit of an accuracy gap over here on the Other Bubble and Super Alf, both sitting at low 95s. Meanwhile, Skyzy, the only player on NorCal to sit at 95, with Valine and Annoying Maniac both in the 97% range here. So that is also compounding.
JT Cantwell dropping the last FC for Indiana as well, so that's most certainly going to be putting the nail in the coffin for Indiana on this Hard Rock 2 pick. A bit of a blunder, a bit maybe just nerves playing out for them, but unfortunate the way that it is going right now. They're going to need to see a complete disaster from North California, or else this point is going to go the way of them. However, Valine does end up dropping, so that is one of the 2 players holding onto the combos, but yeah, as long as Skyzy holds on, it's not going to be enough for Indiana.
Yeah, we are already 3/4 of the way through the map. Skyzy will finally find the missing, but it is 360,000 score in the gap. NorCal have already surpassed their score from last night, and they're looking quite comfy as we approach the ending of this map. And with no combos remaining on the side of Indiana, cursing the sole combo up there on the 300 recovery, I do believe that will be lights out for this one. And a break point, first of the match, going over in the favor of NorCal.
And it's going to be Skyzy and Valine top scoring for their team tonight on this Hard Rock 2, almost doubling each other's scores. Cursing getting a lower score than yesterday, but that is fine. Indiana, we're going to see the first breakpoint of tonight's match. Indiana losing their Hard Rock 2 pick, but can you really be surprised picking? They have like some guts to pick Hard Rock 2 into NorCal with how strong this NorCal team is. So props to them, hats off to them to having that confidence of playing against these tyrants of a team. And we're just gonna have to see what NorCal picks next.
I mean, I don't know about guts. I think Indiana definitely is just playing into their strong suits, which is Hard Rock. You kind of have to when you are the lower seeded team. You don't really have the freedom of choosing into their weaknesses because they're not weak at really anything. So you have to sometimes just bite your nails and pick into your opponent's strengths, which sometimes is going to be the same picks that you're strong at. But unfortunately for Indiana, it just wasn't able to work out for them, and doesn't necessarily mean the end of the world. Doesn't mean that they can't still pick into more Hard Rock. There's still the Hard Rock 3, but yeah, getting that breakpoint for North California is huge for them. That does mean that they are going to have to get a breakpoint back themselves later on in Indiana, but it's going to be pretty rough versus North California because they have a lot of different picks. Still, though, gonna be sticking with the easies here in the easy 2, and that's gonna close out the easy pool as well. This easy, a little bit easier than the previous easy, in my opinion, at least reading wise, but a little bit more rhythmically different than the easy one.
Yep, this is an alt map on easy, so perhaps a little bit different than what people might be normally accustomed to when it comes to these easy maps. Last week we did have a swing map on the easy slot as well. So slowly this easy pool has been developing into more perhaps unusual, perhaps some might call them interesting types of maps. A little bit more testing your actual normal proficiency on the mod rather than simply testing who can memorize the map better.
Yeah, and I would say that this EC2 does favor the players who have practiced the map a bit more, because there is a lot more starts and stops on this map where you really do have to control your cursor movement, and sometimes even just your tapping kind of starts and stops a lot with these like double patterns. There's a couple of tricky sliders towards about the 3/4 way mark of the map that are really easy to slider break on if you misread them even just slightly. So I am I'm a little bit worried on this pick for Indiana, but I do think that they still were able to put up a pretty good team score, all things considered, on that previous easy one. But NorCal's going to play the way that they were playing on that easy one here in this easy two, then Indiana is going to really have to step up, and they're going to have to start to put some better scores together here on this easy two.
Yeah, NorCal famously reading state. We all joke about it, and it will be that duo of Vleth and Asa coming back into the lobby. Skyzy to round out the roster. Meanwhile, on Indiana, JT Cantwell once again sitting out for the easy mod, with Shrek Farm to come in for the Skimmick, accompanied by the other bubble and Super Alv.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know Massachusetts A's game, but NorCal actually banned Easy 2 into Massachusetts. I don't know if Massachusetts is a crazy easy team, but we will see the first break being Asa on the side of NorCal. So Indiana gonna start taking over that score lead, 3 FCs to 2.
And this is a very short map, only 1 minute and 56 seconds long, so these breaks, they are incredibly impactful compared to others.
Might be holding on to their combos for now, but any breaks on the side of Indiana can very quickly spin that score lead back the way of NorCal. But this is the tricky sliders that I was worried about. We do see an initial break finally on the side of Indiana. Actually, a full reset from Indiana as all 3 players end up dropping. Only one to trade on left here on some of these difficult sliders that are just so easy to slider break on with the slightest of misreads. And yes, still going to be struggling here is the other bubble. Still finding more misses, but Bleth is going to be trading with them. Maybe a bit of uncharacteristic misses from Bleth, but Skyzy is holding on to the FC. Never mind, Skyzy ends up dropping, but you still have the massive combo from Asa 3 that is pulling so much heavy weight here for North California.
Yeah, and you can just see the amount of difficulties that exist with this map. The other bubble breaking right before that heavy slider section on even just some back and forth aim control. Not to mention all the other enormous amount of breaks that were coming in through these sliders, which still persist through the map. And then you have those just straight linear flowing patterns as well that just go every which way alongside having cuts between them. So incredibly difficult map. In the end, it will be NorCal with just a little bit more comfort securing the lead, 220,000 points to the good.
Yeah, and I mean, luckily for Indiana, there are no more easy maps. Still, though, going to be putting up pretty good team score on this easy too. But again, versus a team like this North California team, where you have these players who are able to be so skill capped, or excuse me, their skill ceiling is so high on stuff like the easy mod. In a tournament like this, where the easies are consistently getting harder and harder, and there's now access to not only 1 but 2 easy maps a week, that's pretty scary to have to leave both of them open. But I do like the bans still from Indiana, the DT2 and the DT3, really not allowing North California to have their access to the tapping in those 2 picks. And yeah, they do lose both of the easies, and yeah, they're down the breakpoint on the Hard Rock 2. Doesn't feel great, but not the end of the world by any means.
I actually think that perhaps this HR2 loss for Indiana points towards a no mod 1 pick that is a little bit more similar in style to the Hard Rock 1, just a little bit more comfortable aim, mixed mechanics, a little bit of tapping in there, some bursts, longer bursts, up to 9 notes, and it will actually be the no mod 1 pick. So they did win this on a breakpoint against Oregon last night, and that was actually to secure the match victory. Picked into them on match point and getting a 1.8 million team score to put that one away. So looking for a repeat solid performance on this no mod 1 here.
NorCal actually ended up playing this Nomad 1 as well, getting a 1.8 mil team score. I'm not sure if Indiana got a better score than that yesterday, but
Ever so
1.8
slightly, yes.
mil. I see. Yeah, 1.8 mil solid team score. This is, Nomad 1 usually a coin flip, so nerves, hack, everything matters. This isn't the longest of Nomad 1s either, I believe. Just being below 3 minutes, yeah, so.
Yeah,
People
on the
saying
shorter
that they love
side,
gambling.
on the shorter side of picks here, for the Somad one, and not really gonna be that short though, just barely under 3 minutes. But I do agree. I think the misses are going to be put a little bit more under a magnifying glass, just given how simple the map is. The jumps do get kind of spaced out towards the end. The streams after some of these jump sections and like these farm patterns are going to be particularly hard to hit, especially if your nerves are high. And we've seen some shakes already in this match from not only Indiana, but some shakes on the side of North California as well. But if this Indiana team is going to put a second point on the board, it's going to have to be off the back of either a full combo just flat out or just some really, really good scores. So going to be really important to hold on to their combos for as long as they can. And versus Oregon, they were able to hold on to their combos for a pretty long time before they started to break, but the breaks, once they did happen, they just continued happening. So if Indiana is going to get a point, they're going to have to hold on.
Yep. Notably, we do have the exact same rosters on this map once again as they had last night. Sky Zevleth and Annoying Maniac, also known as Cursing for NorCal. And for Indiana, we have, once again, the other bubble, JT Cantwell and Super Alf, repeating their roster that they used against Oregon. No early breaks. Actually, no, an early break found from JT Cantwell here. I believe that was at the start of this first TI section, so that will put a 50,000 score lead in the favor of NorCal. But this is still early days, just the first TI ending, and there are still plenty more jumps, as well as 5-star aim to miss on. Anyone can miss on 5-star aim, as we all know.
Yeah, right before that first TI section was the break. It still was within, I believe, like the first 150-ish combo of the map. So not going to be that bad for Indiana, but NorCal's going to have to find some misses here in order to help equalize the score lead that is really starting to get out of control. If it goes unchecked for much longer, that miss could be pretty bad for Indiana, but this is going to be a bit more tapping section here coming up where these players are going to be having to be met with some more streams in the map, and if these teams are going to be doing well, then they're going to have to be aiming these streams well as the jump aim. So looks like they're doing pretty good so far on both sides. And yeah, for Indiana, there's going to need to be more misses from North California, and there's nothing.
And at the moment, all 5 players, all 5 remaining FCs in the lobby still holding on to those. JT Cantwell, the only player to break so far in this map. As we enter the last TI section of this, both teams already over 1.5 million team score here. So everything is going to be decided in this last TI as things ramp up. Annoying Maniac and the other bubbles both finding missed aims, trading out. Sky's going to find another, and other bubble is going to find another miss, but Super Alva still holding on to that combo, as well as JT Cantwell holding on to the recovery. That the only FC remaining in the lobby. JT Cantwell fighting with the recovery, the only supporting combo, but that is going to be a big supporting combo, slowly pulling the score back in favor of Indiana, but not if the other bubble keeps on finding misses. And both of these teams, but that's going to be Vlef finding a miss at the very end. This could be Super Alf. JT Cantwell still the only remaining combo in the lobby. 60,000 score, 70,000 score, but it's not going fast enough. Is it going to flip? 60,000, 50,000. No, it will not flip. And as the arrow at the end of the map, the sky arrow slider art will round us out. The ending combo of JT Cantwell will not be enough to get the score to flip over. And 50,000 score is enough for NorCal to find the break point once again.
Yeah, that miss from Super Alv right at the very end was the nail in the coffin for Indiana. It was unfortunate for them. It was looking so good for that score lead to go back the way of Indiana, but yeah, those end jumps, I was saying it before the map even started, but those end jumps do get so spaced, and it's so easy to just find miss after miss after miss. We saw Bubble finding so many misses. We saw Annoying Maniac and Skyzy finding so many misses. Even just that uncharacteristic miss from Vleth, who you would expect to be FCing a map like this Nomad 1, but yeah, unfortunately, even though JT was holding on to the combo all the way at the very end, that earlier miss was really what made it so that Indiana could not get that score lead back. They could not bring that one back, and yeah, just not enough time left in that map. That's kind of what happens when it's such a shorter map, under 3 minutes, and yeah, unfortunate for Indiana. They lose another breakpoint 4-1, and now what was looking like not so bad of a situation is looking even worse, being down 3 points, and North California has a chance to consolidate on this second breakpoint that they've been given.
Yeah, and before
JT Okay, you go.
Sorry. NorCal going to be continuing with the reading abuse on the hidden 2. But before we get into that, I do want to mention Indiana's pick so far, finding success on the Hard Rock 1, but as the Hard Rock picks got weirder and weirder in the Hard Rock 2, getting break pointed on. So perhaps not feeling confident on the Hard Rock 3, but now losing on the Nomad 1, it really puts the question to Indiana of where they're going to go next after this NorCal pick. Because assuming they do secure this next pick of theirs, that will put NorCal up 5-1 with the pick going back to Indiana. So that is 2 points off of just closing out the match. And we are looking to perhaps something like the Nomad 4, but even that being a mech tech pick and a bit of an oddball in the pool itself, almost like a one-off pick, where like you pick the Nomad 4 and then where do you go after that? So perhaps running into some dead ends here in terms of pick strategy as the match goes on for longer and longer.
Could potentially see Hard Rock 3 from Indiana, but I really like NorCal's strategy right now. They are letting Indiana pick into the like aim tapping mechanics maps, and NorCal just absolutely abusing the gimmick as we will be going into the custom hidden 2.
This is going to be the last reading pick that is available to North California. That free mod 2 notably is banned out. That's this week's anti-mod. The easies have both been picked now, and this just leaves this hidden 2 in terms of lower AR gimmick, but 2HS are coming out. It's going to be Asa 3 coming back in here for North California, Vleth and SkyZ to round out the roster, Struckfire, Super Alv, and the other bubble for Indiana. And notably, we still have yet to see Marvin Frags be put in for Indiana, this player who was drafted for some more tapping base picks, and I'm wondering if maybe going into something like tapping, even though yes they banned out the DT2, the DT3, it's the only skill set that we haven't seen tested yet this match, and if Indiana is going to have a chance, they're gonna really have to throw all of their eggs in one basket and just kind of see what sticks against the wall here. But yeah, this hidden 2 is gonna be tricky. A lot of overlaps, a lot of reading elements in this one.
Yep, notably still the NM2, the Nomad 2, still remaining in that map pool, 200 BPN Dragon Force stream map. Very typical of what you would expect from a Dragon Force map, but we are into this Hidden 2 action, notably much more heavy on the reading and the overlaps and the rhythm compared to previous weeks on the Hidden, as I'm sure you can already see with these triples and the changing rhythm. Going to catch out Asa here, so NorCal dropping a full combo. The other bubble did find a miss earlier, but they are on quite a nice recovery, and we could see that score tipping back in favor of Indiana shortly here. As SkyZ will find another break, now left the only full combo remaining for NorCal, as Super Alvin Shrek Farmer still holding strong on this hard gimmick pick.
Yeah, and we've seen what Vleth is able to do when given the opportunity to go uncontested, but right now he is contested by not one, not two, but 3 players. The overbubble just barely under the combo that is the full combo for the other players that are holding onto it, and SkyZ finding yet another miss is going to be hurting North California now. Thankfully for North California, there is misses coming out from Indiana. Shrek Farm drops, but that's Vleth dropping the final FC on North California, and this hidden 2 pick that was looking so good for North California on paper is now starting to look really bad for them, as Super Elf does drop the last FC in the lobby. That is the other bubble completely uncontested right now on a 630 recovery.
Yeah, and as we go into this bit of a slower section here, this lead is really going to balloon in the favor of Indiana, as all the other players looking to try and build up a recovery. There is a strong recovery on the side of Asa, however, so that will suppress this lead from growing too quickly. And Shrek Farm will find a break on the slow section here, so that will further slow down the score lead growth and even pull it back a little bit in the favor of NorCal here, ever so slowly.
And right now, all players are holding on to the combos, but as I say that, Bleth ends up dropping right before the next build-up section here, so that's going to be hurting North California a little bit more. That score gap is closed down to about 70,000 with the recovery from Bleth, but now it's going to be start going the way of Indiana once again, but Shrek finds a complete chain race, and that's a break from the other bubble on that massive recovery, and that score instantly switches over towards North California off of that chain miss from Shrek Farm, and the miss from other bubble just completely sends it that way of North California. Now it's Super Alf versus Skyzy, and that score lead is going to be continuing to go the way of North California, despite these misses from Alpha 3, despite the misses from Bleth. It's still going to be the other bubble and Shrek Farm both trading in this final section of the map, and that's going to be a point for North California.
Yep, Super Alv really trying to hold on at the end there, but Skyzy and the existing score lead enough to hold off any sort of comeback at the end. And that is NorCal securing their pick of their own and going up 5-1 in the match. And I do have to put the question to you, Pigeon, as the resident Indiana expert. Where do Indiana go from here?
Okay. Well, I have been discussing with some of the Indiana team here as for what potential picks that they would be going. I offered up maybe something like the Nomad 4 because I really did think that they looked pretty solid on that Nomad 4, but they seem very against that. And their thoughts are leaning a bit more into the Force Mod 1, although I was met with with the conundrum of, does North California get the cytosine buff if they pick the Force Mod 1? That is the question.
The Force Mod 1 or the Free Mod 1?
Excuse me, the Free Mod 1.
Right. The Free Mod 1, yeah, I would be a little bit hesitant to pick into that, especially since it is an extension of those tapping picks that Indiana banned out at the start. Bit of a rhythm gimmick, but still very much so in that wheelhouse of tapping. So I'm not sure if that's something that Indiana would really want to pick into. Also, yes, cytosine buff, very much so expected to be real.
Surely real for North California.
Surely.
We'll see. Honestly, it's a pretty big question mark here. I think it's just going to come down to if one player is like, guys, I'm playing really well at blank, we should pick this. Then that's, I think, is what Indiana is playing off of right now. They are down 4 points. We're going to need to see a pick from them, and it is going to be that Nomad 2. It's Operation Get Marvin Frags in the lobby here for Indiana. We have not seen him play yet in this match. We need Marvin Frags
tapping
to save
into NorCal. Oh my god. Tapping into Vleth. I mean,
hey, who's gonna set a 400?
Yeah. Surely Vleth just sets like a 99% FC on this, right?
Right. You have to imagine he does, but I think for Indiana, their choices are running thin here, right? You don't want to be picking Tech into this North California team. You don't want to be picking Double Time into this North California team. You've already lost one of the 2 Hard Rock picks. You only have 1 left remaining. You definitely don't want to pick Hidden into them, just given how weak you are on Hiddens yourselves. I think the most viable option, which is what we see, is this tapping in the Nomad 2, which sounds crazy. Like, yes, they're picking Nomad 2 into North California, but what are their other options?
Speaking of the Hidden, actually, they were, in fact, picking heavily into that in their match against Oregon last night. And given how close this Hidden 2 ended up being, I wouldn't be too surprised if they tried to pivot into something like the Hidden 1 or the Hidden 3 later on. So the way I see it, it's not totally out of the question, but yes, you are picking that you would end up picking Hidden into Reading State, so that's also looking quite grim. Like, Hidden and tapping just feels so off limits when you go up against a Vleth team.
Yeah, is a little bit concerning here, but I do think that this, as crazy as it sounds, this is the best pick that they could have gone for.
Yeah, but just like, look at this roster that's in this lobby here. Like, what are we doing? Vleth, Valine, and Asa on Nomad 2.
Right.
This is so scary for Indiana. Fortunately, though, they do have Marvin Frags coming in for their debut in this match. That tapping specialist, hopefully going to put up a good score, maybe match one of these top scores from NorCal. Going to find an early break on one of those streams, however. but perhaps a little bit of just first map nerves as we head into this map.
Calculated
Yeah,
miss. It's calculated, and you gotta respect the Indiana strat. You know, they aren't afraid to pick into their strengths, and even letting Martyr Frags come in, they do find another break. So 2 FCs to 3 favoring NorCal, 20k score difference, which could switch with any break, but let's be honest, I don't think we see any of these NorCal players finding breaks. These three, oh, I take it back. Valine will be the one to find the break. So it's 2 FCs to 2. Bubble and JT against Vlef and Asa. And only a 15k score lead. And JT gonna find the break. So it's just gonna be Bubble and Marvin Frags on a recovery against Vlef and Asa.
Yeah,
I do want to.
I think there's always a chance for misses on either side, even if you are heavily favored here. But it's gonna be Valine finding more misses. That's gonna be a full chain miss from Asa 3, maybe letting the nerves get to him. And now we're halfway through the map, and yes, Marvin Frags finds yet another miss, but that wasn't a player on an FC. And now JT Cantwell has this combo recovery up to 400. You have the other bubble still matching Vleth, and also going to be finding more misses here. It's JT Cantwell drops the recovery, and that's going to be only 60,000 points here, but still, it's so incredibly close. Any more misses, and that's a miss from Vleth. So that's the opening that Indiana needs. Now, can the other bubble hold on to his combo here through this slowdown section? Don't let the nerves get to yourself. Don't even think about looking at the lobby leaderboard to see how close this one is, and that score is slowly switching the way of Indiana.
And what a surprising turn of events this is. All players in NorCal finding just breaking on this Nomad 2. Valine, the only recovery combo on the side of NorCal, going to be trying to stave off and prevent this score gap from increasing any quicker than it already is, but the other bubble still holding on to that FC. 1400, now approaching 1500 combo, nobody getting slow slider as well, and they are going to head not into a break to see the score difference. The song will continue playing, and we are already in this last leg of the map. 50,000, now 60,000 score in the favor of Indiana. Can the other bubble hold on into this ending? It is looking like they can, as this score lead is going to eclipse 100,000. Marvin Frag going to find a chain miss on one of those streams, but it's not enough. These NorCal combos are recovering, but they need the other bubble to break, and to break now. Marvin Frag is going to find another chain miss. JT can't, well, also finding break, but the song is basically over. And there's a break point on Nomad 2 for Indiana. Or not a break point, excuse me. But Indiana winning Nomad 2. Picking Nomad 2 into NorCal and winning? What is going on?
What is going on is Indiana just felt good on that Nomad 2, and yes, we all had our doubts on it, but at the end of the day, anything can happen in a tournament scenario. Nerves play a huge factor. It doesn't matter how good some of your scores are on the sheet. It doesn't matter if you have multiple FCs on a map in practice. When it comes to match time, it was looking a little bit better here for Indiana on this Nomad too. And honestly, all of these points so far have not looked that bad for Indiana, despite being down 3 points right now. They still have to get back 2 breakpoints. I'm not going to let that one slide. They still have to get back 2 breakpoints, but Indiana has to feel really good about this Nomad 2 win.
What an incredible performance from the other bubble. That was just insane. The pick will be going back over to the side of NorCal,
Indiana
however.
teammates. Bubble putting their 2 Indiana teammates in the backpack. They were able to hold out that FC even with the breaks from their 2 supporting combos. It didn't matter, as they did actually hold out an FC, and you know they did beat NorCal, which even ref, we were confused about this Nomad 2 pick into NorCal, but the other bubble just able to show that they were able to take that point. And we actually do see a timeout coming from NorCal. I don't know if they have player issues or if they're just thinking of a strategy, because I mean, I don't know why they'd be thinking over a strategy. They got like 70% of the pool they could pick into if they really wanted to, but
No,
maybe
but
they are
you look at their
expecting
picks.
the unexpected.
You look at their
Yeah.
picks, and it makes a lot of sense why they're taking this timeout. They've exhausted all of their picks that they wanted to do. They have exhausted every single reading pick that is available to them. There are no more reading picks left. The timeout makes so much sense because they need to know what they actually want to pick.
This is perhaps a bit of a mid-match strategic collapse coming in, or perhaps not so much of a collapse, but a need to rethink their strategy. Uh, I really do think that Hidden 2 being so close really put a scare on them, and they're much less confident in picking into something like the Hidden 1 or the Hidden 3. Normally, I would just expect them to continue picking the Hiddens and try to reading abuse this Indiana roster, but with the Hidden 2 being so close and then also losing on tapping, that's sure to be a bit of a shock for the NorCal players.
Losing on tapping, and also Indiana bans out the DT2 and DT3, which maybe kicking themselves a little bit. Completely different styles of maps from the Snowmod 2, but still, those were their other routes for tapping. And if one of their only few points so far has been on a tapping map, then it's a little bit scary for them here for their next few picks. But at the very least, they are guaranteed one more pick, no matter what happens. Even if North California wins their next pick, Indiana is still guaranteed one more pick. So it is going to be a tough hill to climb, but luckily for Indiana, they don't have to necessarily get to tiebreaker. If Indiana wins every single map from here on out, then a tiebreaker will not be required of them. But I mean, right now, they are going to go with the Hidden 3. Yes, the Hidden 2 was maybe a little bit closer than North California would have liked, but this Hidden 3 is still a risky pick because Indiana looked really good on this Hidden 3 yesterday.
Yeah, notably the beginning of this map, absolute hell to try and combo through. So many players just breaking somewhere in this first quarter to 1/3 or so of the map. However, JT Cantwell putting up 600k in their match against Oregon last night on this. So looking to replicate that performance here. Meanwhile, on the side of NorCal, I don't believe they picked this yet. Yeah, that's right. They have not. So it will be a initial showing to see how they can perform on this Hidden 3 in match. But it does look like they will be continuing with their strategy of trying to reading abuse this Indiana team for now. We could see things change if they find another close map on this Hidden 3 here. And perhaps they're just trying to send out the feelers, see if that Hidden 2 was just a bit of a fluke, or if there really is something to be worried about in terms of the viability of this reading strategy.
For Indiana, we're going to have the same roster as yesterday. We're going to have the other Bubble, JT, and Super. I'm gonna take a guess that Bubble and Super Elf can definitely try and beat their scores on this Hidden 3, as they have proven to be able to beat their scores on other maps. And JT hopefully gonna try and replicate or beat that 633k, as we are gonna go into the Hidden 3. For NorCal, we got Vlef. I believe Kumiko is Picky, and
Yes.
Asa as the third.
Notably, Picky getting, I believe it was either Piki or Asa getting #1 on Nomad 3 in the NorCal tryouts. So notably incredibly comfortable on these alt-style picks, although Piki will be finding an early break here to start us off. JT Cantwell, the other bubble, also going to trade as we get right into this incredibly difficult section, and that is a full reset coming out on the side of NorCal. Super Alv, the only full combo to stay alive, but they will also finally miss aim, and as you can see, all these players, none of these players able to cleanly combo through this beginning section. I love Kumiko finally putting something together towards the end of it, so going to be coming out with a little bit bigger of a combo than the rest, although JT Cantwell right on his legs.
JT Cantwell is right on the trail, and that's going to be a triple miss on the side of North California's. Now you have these two combos for Indiana to make that one. JT Cantwell going to be dropping the recovery, but still the other bubble is the only person in the lobby with any form of combo above 100 now. Finally, all two players in North California are cresting that 100 mark, and Alv is matching at least one of them, but that's a drop from the other bubble, and that score lead is still in favor of North California because of all these earlier misses from Indiana. So Indiana going to need to see some more breaks, going to need to hold on to more combo, but that's a trade from Kumiko and JT Cantwell, and Super Alf going to be dropping again, so this is looking worse and worse for Indiana now. As we're coming into the final quarter of the map, it's still trades happening left and right, but just from Kumiko. And now finally down goes Fleth, down goes Asa 3, but 200,000 points I think is going to be way too much for Indiana to get back with no combo on anybody.
Yeah, and this song is already over. This is 1 minute and 50 seconds long, incredibly short. And with the 200,000 score lead at this point in the favor of NorCal, I don't think there's any time left. Like, we are already at the end of the map. And that is going to be NorCal securing their point once again to go up 6-2 and put themselves on match point. So you mentioned the tiebreaker not being necessary yet should Indiana make that full comeback, but NorCal reaching that match point. If Indiana do want to come back and take this, they will be required to go all the way to that tiebreaker.
Yep, tiebreaker now requirement for Indiana in order to stay in this tournament. Any further losses on any map whatsoever will send Indiana out of the tournament entirely. It is still going to be, no matter what, even if they lose this match today, it will be their best ever placement that they have ever done in 5USC history. So still a very impressive tournament run for Indiana, but they would love to make it all the way to the final stage. But right now, that's going to mean every single map from here on out, including tiebreaker, that they have to win versus this North California team who is just looking so good, so locked in, despite losing 2 points on some unorthodox ways here in this match, the Hard Rock one and the Nomad 2 specifically. They are still looking to close this one out here. And I think that pause from North California was absolutely necessary, because I think what that pause really did was it put a complete halt to any momentum that Indiana could have had. I think that pause was pretty much set in place, not only to figure out this next, hidden 3 pick from North California, but also to stop Indiana from having momentum to really just bring them back down to earth and make them feel like there is more time to be had in this match than what there actually is.
Yep, definitely a bit of icing going on there with a timeout. It will be the HR3 pick coming out for Indiana. And before we got into this, I did want to propose perhaps a DT4 pick going off of that Nomad 2 win, but Hard Rock 3 also makes sense. Indiana also going back to their original match strategy of trying to fight on these Hard Rocks. Perhaps just this particular Hard Rock map a little bit lower on the priority due to its oddness. I do want to point out that on this map, there is most certainly an MP3 change tech and a buff associated with that MP3 change as well for the NorCal players.
Hey, why would you change the MP3? I'm mad if any player in this lobby does that. I'm actually gonna be very mad at you, because this map is a Hubba's Hidden Hoopla custom. Hubba's Hidden Hoopla was a tournament that I co-hosted, so if you guys MP3 change this, then you are saying you hate me. That's what's happening, so don't do that.
Shooting daggers at cursing right now.
Might be too late to do an MP3.
Yeah, the you and me, the me and you rate change to 160 BPM is very real, and it goes very hard.
That is disheartening. That one hurts a little bit, but you know what? Whatever helps. If you don't enjoy the music, then you're forced to play a map with that music. Then I mean, I can't fault the players, but I gotta say, I'm not a fan.
Man, I guess they just hate SpongeBob.
You just hate SpongeBob. How can you hate SpongeBob?
I know, right? They just hate SpongeBob, though. So we will be going back to the Hard Rock roster for Indiana, the other bubble, JT Cantwell and Super Alf. This looks to be just their 3-man core for mechanics in general as well. NorCal, once again, putting in Annoying Maniac for the Hard Rock pick alongside Skyzy and Peaky. This is a bit of an ulti map, 160 BPM, so a little bit quick for the ult, but still possible to consider it ult. So definitely makes sense to see Peaky come in for this one.
And shout out to Furyu for this one as well. Such an awesome map. It really is a difficult one at that. A lot of these like really tight wiggle patterns that you do have to kind of be locked in on your aim for in order to hit them properly. So if any player does get tripped up on any of these aims, they're going to be very easy to find misses, and that's actually going to be a very early miss from both Annoying Maniac and a trade from the other bubble just off the very beginning section where it does kind of just kick off right off the start.
Yep. JT Cantwell going to be following it up, and on top of these tight wiggles, I do want to point out that it is also incredibly difficult to hit the reverse arrow on those sliders at the end of the wiggle. So it's not necessarily just the wiggle, but it's the wiggle in combination with the reverse slider that really makes this map incredibly brutal on the aim control. As we are seeing a lot more breaks coming in. Peaky, the only remaining FC in the lobby. Super Alf, actually the entirety of Indiana trying to build up a recovery, but being matched by NorCal, and that is a small score lead slowly building in their favor. 70k slowly approaching 100k, but looks to be halted for the moment.
Are matching some of these scores despite having less combo across all three players on Indiana, but still looking to keep this one a little bit competitive. Not willing to go down without a fight here, but right now it's looking really rough for Indiana, and they're going to need to see more misses on the side of North California if they want to way back into this. There's still about half of the map remaining, but that's a trade from Super Alb and Peaky. That was the final remaining FC on this Hard Rock 3, and that's a full reset for Indiana on the gunshot to the state of Indiana, if you will, and Annoying Maniac, the only player unscathed right now.
And this is almost 200,000 score in the favor of NorCal. Things are looking incredibly grim if you're an Indiana fan here. This Hard Rock 3 pick, we alluded to it earlier in the match, perhaps not necessarily favoring this more awkward style of Hard Rock into NorCal, more comfortable on the more traditional types of aim that are associated with the Hard Rock 1 and the Hard Rock 2.
It's looking worse and worse for Indiana, but that is a drop on that combo from Annoying Maniac here. There are good recoveries starting to build up for Indiana, but they would have to essentially FC for the remainder of the map and hope for some more misses from North California, but I think it's almost safe to say that this is going to be the final nail in the coffin. I do think this is going to be it for Indiana, although that's a miss from Skyzy. Alv will trade that, and now it's JT Cantwell and Other Bubble doing the best they can to bring this one back, but again, it's going to have to be a full weight recovery combo until the very end, and that's a miss from JT Cantwell, and I think that's going to do it for Indiana. I do believe that is much too big of a gap, and yeah, even if JT hadn't missed, that was going to be way too big of a gap. This very elusive spinner at the very end, not any combo remaining, and that's going to be Indiana's last match here in 5USC. A very solid performance up to this point, but unfortunately for them, it's not going to be enough to get past this behemoth of a North California team.
Yeah, the other bubble not popping all the way until the end, but unfortunately floating off into the sky as they are left behind by pull that last one back. And it will be a break point for NorCal to close out the match. 7-2. Winning once again in the semifinals and moving on to the finals of this lower bracket.
Yeah, 07 Indiana, but really, really good run. Getting it to semifinals, winning their first match in the losers bracket, but unfortunately they got a little bit unlucky in the bracket and they had to face these behemoths of NorCal. This team, I mean, just look at it. You have Left, Asa 3, Valine, Picky, Azurium, and Cursing, and NorCal will